All right, I'm going to show you kind of a primer on how to use AI to make your life easier. Um, and I'm going to give you one specific example of two different data sets, so two different files in Excel format. And each of those files need to be compared against each other, and then a consolidated report that shows me certain data will be presented. And so to do that, I've got two different AI engines on my screen. So on the right side is Microsoft's Copilot, and on the left is Claude. Um, I tend to prefer Claude. I think I get better results out of it, but this will work with both. Most organizations are going to have Copilot either included or it's free or it's part of Microsoft that you can do this with. I will say this before I get started. Just know that whatever you put into an AI engine, assume it can become public knowledge. So be careful what you put in there. If it's patient data, proprietary information, personal identifiable information, you want to be very cautious about putting that data in there unless you have a restrictions and things in place so that data cannot be shared with the wider public. And just be careful about that. If you want to put data in there and get results, you can anonymize your data. And that way it's not giving any information out to anyone else. That gets into a more complex system, which I'm not going to get into today. But the data that I'm putting in here is anonymized. It's about 900 different rows in Excel, probably 30 or so columns of data, and it's two separate reports. One is from a endpoint detection response portal that we run, where it's listing every single endpoint that has our EDR is what it's called, software on it that we support. Now I've anonymized all the data, so you won't see anything for any of my customers. And then the next one is our remote monitoring and management platform portal, where it's an export of every computer that has our RMM on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare those, and I'm going to merge that data to where everything that matches by computer name is on the same line and fills in all the data going across for each thing that's in there on both tables or both spreadsheets. And then on the first column, I'm going to have it put in there either a checkbox or an X. If Sentinel-1 is installed on that computer, I want a checkbox. If it's not installed, I want an X. And then I can match up and say, should this be installed? Should it not be installed? I'm just comparing data. Okay. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So first, let me clean that out. First, I'm going to take and copy our data into here. So I've got the same data in CSV or XLSX. Both should work with your engine. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in there. So that is that one, and I'm going to drop them here. And then I'm going to also drop them over here in Copilot. So this is again Copilot. This is Claude. Now I do have, I think I pay $100 a month for the Claude subscription, and Copilot, because we're a Microsoft partner, we get our Copilot licenses for free, but it is a paid subscription to get Copilot Enterprise. All right. So as far as Claude goes, I'm going to give it the instruction set, then I'm going to copy it over to Copilot and give it the same instruction set. So I want to merge these two files based on matching data and create cells to contain data that doesn't match. I want to create, I don't need to say I want, create a new column with heading S1 installed and put a red or green checkbox in the cell if S1 is installed, and a red X if S1 is not installed. Okay, that should be good enough. If it's not, we'll massage it, but let's see what we get from this. All right, so now I'm going to get these kicked off. So let's kick this one off, and then we're going to kick off Copilot and let those run. Now, one thing about Copilot is Copilot wants you to clarify usually before it starts to do things, whereas Claude takes what you say, figures out what it thinks you should have, what you meant, and then starts to give you data. So Claude doesn't really argue with you as much as Copilot, and Copilot wants you to give it more and more specific information to get you the results you want. One of the other things I've discovered is Copilot tends to seem to kind of assume you want certain things. Like it'll start to create 3 or 4 different types of spreadsheets with different versions and tables you didn't ask for to manipulate the data in a way that it thinks might be valuable to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine, but it is going to give you more data than what you might expect. All right, so Copilot was done first, and I'm not really worried about the speed. They're both fast enough. So let's go ahead and click here and download this one's. So it's opening here. So I'm going to go ahead and just make this full screen. All right. So the first thing you'll notice is Copilot did not create a um, a column here in the front that says whether S1 is installed or not. So it just broke it out into 2 separate tabs. One says merged from Ninja, the other one says S1 only devices. So this is saying that these devices have S1 and then it's got all the data merged here. So that didn't give me what I really wanted. So I'm gonna have to change my wording a little bit. So I'm gonna close this. Let's see. I'm just gonna say try again, but this time create one tab with all the data merged and the first column with heading S1 installed should have a check mark if S1 is installed and a X if not installed. Let's see what we get. Okay, so in the meantime, Claude is running. Claude just finished. So we're going to download that as soon as it finishes telling me everything. Okay. It may not have liked my wording either, so we'll see. So here's merged. Again, it gave me the same data. So I just did not speak it very well. Oh, here we go. It's over here to the right. So there is everything that it's matched on. So there is our S1 installed. It did not put it in the first column over here to the left. It put it to the right. And so I could sort on that. It did give me sortable fields by default. And so there's everything installed. It did take some liberties to give me sortable fields and everything if I want to do that. But now I know. I say, okay, it is installed here. So these devices that are in Ninja have S1. And then if I go to the very bottom, because of how I sorted, these do not have the S1 installed. So now I've been able to compare the data between the two. And if I expected S1 to be installed everywhere, this is telling me it's not. Okay. And you can do all kinds of compares like that. So we'll go ahead and call that good. I'm going to make one change. It's going to move the S1 column to the front of the spreadsheet. Oh, not front, to the first column on the spreadsheet. Let's see if it'll give me that. In the meantime, let's see what we got over here. So it says it saved it to OneDrive. Download the corrected file. Or the corrected file. I was working with SharePoint on here earlier, so it somehow has decided to store things in SharePoint. Not sure why it decided to do that all of a sudden. All right, so it did recreate on Claude, so we'll download that again. See what we get. Again, it creates a bunch of tabs, breaks everything down. So here we go. Now it moved it to the first column. Everything else is in separate columns, and we can sort by that. So now it's exactly the format I wanted. I can go in here and expand everything out if I want to. And so that's my compare. So now I've got a quick visual check of what's installed, not installed. I can sort again to get all my checks at the top, and then I'll have a good idea of what I have. So we're going to go ahead and close that. Okay, so it put it here in my SharePoint again, which is kind of frustrating because I did not ask it to do that, but it has decided that's where it wants to put it. So let's get here. So here it is. Okay, so this is what Copilot gave me. So basically the same thing with my wording change again. It put everything in the right columns. I can open this as an actual XLSX file and have all the data there. So now I've been able to do a compare. It created a consolidated report, and now I can use that data. Now, if I want to repeat this, say I do a report once a month, and you can have multiple files. You can have it compare all kinds of data. The main thing is to have a key between the data. Say in this case, it's computer name that has software installed. So it'll have every one of my reports has a computer name. And if the computer name exists in all the reports, it'll consolidate everything across each cell in that row. And then it'll tell us whether S1's installed or not. And I can do that for multiple reports. So if I got multiple products, I want to see if they're installed, it'll do that. And then I can sort by each product. Okay. I'm working in XLSX files, CSV files. You can also do this with PDF documents. You can do it with other file types and do that comparison. So if you're using an ERP or a medical record system and you generate a report or financial, say QuickBooks and P&L and some chart of accounts export, you can still compare that data and just import it in here. So just drag it in here. But when you want to repeat this every month, you don't want to have to remember or write down what you told it. Okay. So what you want your software to do now is you want it to create a file that is an instruction set. Claude calls it a .md file. Microsoft Copilot calls it a YAML file, .yaml. I don't know if you're supposed to say it that way, but we'll see. Okay. Create an instruction set so I can run this same thing each month on different data. May not need to say all that, but I said it all. All right, we're going to do the same thing for Copilot now. I'm going to go ahead and close this little window here. That was the preview of the spreadsheet. That's telling you again, it's creating the file, how the reports have to be formatted in order to work. So if it's the same format as what we did already, it'll be good. And there's all the instructions. I'm just going to say create a YAML file. I think I said that right. And there it is. So then I can download that instruction set. So to run this, let's say I'm doing this once a month. I copy my reports into whatever folder I want. I drag them into Copilot or into Claude. I drop my YAML file in there, which is this right here. And then it will follow the instructions from the YAML file to create the same exact output as what I had before. And you can even schedule this. There's all kinds of scripting you can do to make this automated. I'm not getting into that today, but just know that it can go way deeper. But if you're not gifted in computers, it's not really your forte, you're wanting to do some stuff with AI, and this is a fantastic way to get started and get great value really early on. So I'm giving this a minute to finish creating the markdown file. As always, do not copy any patient information. If you're a medical practice or a medical practitioner, do not copy any proprietary information, personal identifiable information into any AI engine. You can anonymize the data. I'm not going to get into that here. It's what I did to create this data. I exported live data from my systems, then I anonymized the data so I could run it in the AI engine to get what I wanted out of it. So, so here it created the MD file. So that's the run book. So I would just download this, and every time I want to create the report, I would drop those reports that I want to merge or manipulate or review or what have you with the .md file, paste them in there, hit enter, and it's going to run in a few minutes or a few seconds even. It's going to give me the report I want. Okay. So that is super simple, how to get Copilot to give you good data, merging two documents, looking at them, comparing things. I know we do that all the time in our business. Most businesses are going to do that, but you can pull any data, PDF document, reports from an EMR, reports from your accounting package, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, chart of accounts export, and you can have your AI engine analyze that. Again, always be careful about what you put into an AI engine. Just assume if you put it in there, it's going to become public knowledge, and be cautious and know that you're either okay with that or you're not okay with that. Now, there are security controls you can put in on AI engines. If you want to use Copilot in your enterprise, you do need to have someone like us or your internal IT or a third party set that up, configure it, lock it down to try to keep as much of that data in-house, as well as to keep your AI engine from doing things you don't want it to do for your employees. You may not want them using it in certain ways. So there are some restrictions you can put in place. In general, AI is still kind of the Wild West. However, there's not a lot of restrictions you can put on it, but there are some. So just keep that in mind. And there are different paid versions of these. My Claude here on the left, I pay about $100 a month for that. I have some restrictions in place on it. My Copilot Enterprise on the right, I get that as part of being a partner with Microsoft because we're a reseller. But you can buy that, and that does give you some policy restrictions you can put in place as well. So that's all I got. Hope that's useful for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to email me back, and I can answer any questions you have, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.